First stanza of the poem: an elementary school classroom in a slum. Far, far from gusty waves, the children faces, like rootless weeds, the hair torn round their pallor, the tall girl with her weighed down head, the paper seeming boy with rat's eyes, the stunted, unlucky heir of twisted bones, reciting a father's gnarled disease, his lessons from his desk. At back of the dim class, one unnoted, sweet and young, his eyes live in a dream of a squirrel's game in tree room other than this. So first of all, let me tell you that this poem is written in blank verse. It is free verse, means the poet is not following any rhyme pattern, any rhyme scheme, and it is not written in any particular stanza, any particular rhyme scheme. Okay, let's get started with the first line. Far, far from gusty waves, these children faces. First of all, let me tell you that this is an image heavy and figures loaded poem. Means you will find a lot of images and figures in this poem, and this poem has been depicted in the terms of figures and images. The gloom and doom of children and their lives are totally shown by the help of figures and images. So, kindly keep your attention on these figures and images. The very first line, far from the gusty waves, these children faces. Uh, Sorry for this inconvenience. The very first line for far from gusty waves uses alliteration FFF, far, far from, means they are miles away, doubly far from gusty waves. Uh, Gusty waves, rising waves of the ocean, which represents energy, enthusiasm, vastness, and vigor. Here, gusty waves represents children who are naturally energetic and bubbly, but these children are far away from the natural childhood, and their faces are dull and dejected. I hope that you got this line. Let's come to the second line. Like rootless weeds, the hair torn round their pallor. Weeds means all of you know that unwanted plant, and pallor means dull, pale faces of the children. So, in the view of elite class, in the view of a large section of society, these children are unwanted weeds who pollutes and affect the main crop. I mean the bourgeois society, and they are rootless also. Rootless means they don't have any foundation to sustain. They are deprived of political, economic, and social security. The poet has deliberately used this plant simile, means weed. This is a plant simile, like rootless weeds, to dehumanize them. Means they are as if they are not humans. They are very much close to plant existence, and they are far away from being human. Their hairs falling on their lackluster, dull faces, because that is uncombed and unkempt. Like rootless weeds, the hair torn round their pallor. Pallor means here dull and lackluster faces of the children, and their hairs are totally uncombed and unkempt, and that's why they are falling on their uh, 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 faces, which are not shiny and which do not reflect any sort of the warmth and glow of children. So, as their hairs, so are the children, unkempt and uncared. Their life is totally untidy and uncared. Third line. The tall girl with her weighed down head. Uh, the tall girl in an elementary classroom. It clearly indicates that she is overaged and had joined the school very late. She is standing downcast. The tall girl with her weighed down head. Her head is not heavy because these children are skeletonic and they are undernourished, malnourished. So her head is not heavy. Rather, because she is overaged and out of shame, she is casting her head down, casting her side down, and she is physically and emotionally exhausted. And this head down also shows that her head is down because of the burden of poverty. uh, so she is definitely not happy. So this poet does not say that she is not happy. Her way of saying is very much different, and this is what a poetry functions like. Okay, the next line. The paper seeming boy with rat's eye. It's another strong simile being used by the poet. The boy is as thin as a paper. He is malnourished and malnutrition. In fact, all children are who are present in the class are underprivileged children. The metaphor, this brilliant metaphor, in fact, rat's eyes provide an indication of starvation. The boy looking with a timid but greedy eyes, like a rat, for food or for things. If we extend this metaphor a little more, we may interpret that the boy is trapped in that classroom like a rat gets trapped in a rat trap. Uh, as a rat enters and get trapped in the greeds of food, you might have seen in your household that we keep a rat trap and we keep some morsel of bread or a chapati, and rats come in the pursuit of that and they get trapped. So this boy is also trapped in the classroom in the greed of better future, better life, which we get through education. So you may think this imagery in this term also, that the boy is looking like a timid trapped rat in that classroom, and he is totally doomed. This is not going to anyhow help him to uh, uh, to to make his future. Okay, next line. The paper seeming boy with rat's eyes. Okay, I'm missing one line. The paper seeming boy, and that boy is as thin as a paper. He is so thin, so malnourished and undernourished that he is as thin as a paper and almost skeletonic. And the poet deliberately uses the metaphor, the paper simile, sorry, the paper seeming boy, because paper is also part and parcel of a classroom. So he's using a classroom content or material to depict the boy. So another dehumanization of these children. And he is as non-existent, he is as non-human as other things are available in the classroom. So the paper seeming boy with rat's eye. Let's move to next line. The stunted, unlucky heir of twisted bones, reciting a father's gnarled disease. So it's a description of another boy who is stunted, whose growth has been stopped due to undernutrition and malnourishment. You know that childhood is a growing stage. It's uh, It's a stage when our body get formed and we grow very rapidly and fast. But these children growth has come to an end, which is absolutely abnormal. And that's why the poet says that he's unlucky heir of twisted bones. Heir means successor. Usually, a child inherits riches, property, and happiness from their parents, but this unlucky child has inherited twisted bones, a crippled body from his father. He's not reciting baby rhymes or any poem taught by his father, but his knotted and twisted body. Rickets, scurvy, polio, etc., were very common those days and prevalent in those poor families, especially dwelling in the slums. So these children are not privileged children like rich people, and they are getting every sort of property and riches from their father. Rather, they are so unlucky that they are getting diseases in the form of their inheritance. Next line. Uh, Reciting a father's gnarled disease, his lessons from his desk. And he's so crippled that he's unable to stand, and that's why he's sitting in the bench, sitting in his desk, and reciting everything. At back of the dim class, one unnoted, sweet and young, his eyes live in a dream of a squirrel's game in tree room other than this. But at the back of the dim class, so here another imagery, dim class means there is no light. Dim class is not only depicting the space of the class, but dim class is an image or a symbol which represents the life of the poor children and the poor people of that slum area. There is no light, there is no growth and progress. Rather, they are living a deemed they are living in a deemed space and doomed life. At the back of the dim class, one unnoted, again unnoted, and not only that boy is unnoted, but the entire slum area, all the families, all the children, they are unnamed, unfaced. They are just a, a crowd. They are just a collection of people living on the margin of the society without being noticed. So, one unnoted, sweet and young. And these children, look at this phrase, sweet and young. These children are as sweet and young as other children are. But look at the sea difference between the lives of these children and the children who are living a very prosperous life. His eyes live in a dream of a squirrel's game in tree room other than this. So may that boy is in the classroom, but his eyes is dreaming. So he is not like other children. And maybe possible that because the poet has not cleared here, because that child is so small that he's not interested in study, and he's interested in the game, in the squirrel's game and the squirrel's room. Tree room means you must have seen the hollow space in a tree, that is called tree room. So the squirrel living and peeping through that tree room, jumping hither and thither. So that boy is interested in that. So here squirrel's game represents some a bright aspect of the life, and it may be possible that the children who, they all have got potential, but someone stands up and change the fate of the entire society. So it is one aspect of this poem. I hope that this stanza is clear. I'm speeding up. I'm not speaking slowly because it takes a lot of time and data, and it's very difficult to upload heavy data loaded videos. Thank you for watching this.